Get ready for some upbeat banter, plenty of laughs, and a whole lot of love for the game and our team. This is Buds and Blue Jays. And now your hosts, Riley McConnell and Jesse Burrell.
Oh, good evening, everyone. It is Sunday, April 28th, and welcome to episode 174 of Buds and Blue Jays, your place for all things related to the Toronto Blue Jays. As usual, Jesse Burrell, joined by Riley McConnell. And Riley, on today's episode, it kind of feels like a repeat of last episode, where we sit here and we wonder, where has our offense gone, as we were only able to mutter, 7 runs this series? Not quite good enough. We're going to talk about all that in this episode. We talk a little bit about John Schneider, and we want to give some love to our outfield defense and some other under-the-hood things that have gone on with the Toronto Blue Jays in this episode. But first, please make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, tell a friend, and if you are enjoying our content, leave a 5-star review, all that good stuff. It really is the best way to help the show grow. Riley, the Toronto Blue Jays lose 2 out of 3 against the Dodgers, and honestly, I don't think we really expected anything different. They're the best team in baseball. They came here and they looked like it in this series. How are we feeling about our team and our boys after this weekend series against the Dodgers?
The series went exactly how you would think it would have gone, Jesse. I think we predicted. I predicted we would lose 2, win 1. That's exactly what happened, Jesse. I've seen weaker all-star teams in the past, the top 3 batters. Mookie Betts, Shohei Ohtani, and Freddie Freeman. It's like we're playing against the National League all-star team with those guys. I mean, in some way, shape, or form, they had an impact on their series. As good as the Dodgers are, as good as they played against our Blue Jays, we still did not play well. There's no question about it. We have an incredibly difficult time for some reason for scoring runs. We just can't find a way, whether it's in the clutch. You see guys pop off, solo home run for yada, yada, whatever, whoever player. And it's like, that's just simply not good enough. We get runners on base. We'll roll into a double play with nobody out, kill the inning. And
I've heard that story before.
Then our bullpen comes in a close game and we might give up 1 run and we just can't make that run back. And it's been the same story all year as we sit dropping another series. As we were successful the last, couple weeks in winning these series. But the theme is the same, Jesse. We can't score runs. Against a team we knew we need to score runs against the LA Dodgers, and they showed up. They showed up at Rogers Center and they beat the hell out of us, man.
Yeah, before the Blue Jays were able to salvage the final game of this series, we had lost 5 in a row, 6 of our last 7. The Blue Jays have definitely gone on a cold streak. And there were some stats that were circulating around through the game here that we retweeted and that you guys might have seen as Blue Jays fans. One of them, the Blue Jays had gone 37 straight innings without holding a lead. That is insane. That is the longest streak in franchise history, not the type of streak you want to be on. And I know people on Blue Jays Twitter know this one as well, but the Toronto Blue Jays haven't scored 6 or more runs in a game since the first week of April. That was before we even had our first home game. And that was a game we lost 9-8 in the Bronx in the Yankee Stadium. It is a very big struggle for the Toronto Blue Jays offense, as we know. And it's frustrating to watch, too. Seeing these Blue Jays hitters go in, flail at pitches out of the zone, making soft contact galore. It's just, when you are down by 1 or 2, it ultimately feels like there's almost no hope of a comeback being happening right now. And it's tough.
We knew we were in for it, Jesse.
We did. We talked about it all offseason, too.
And outcomes the same, man. And hey, it goes to show you. And I thought about this today. We couldn't hack it against the Dodgers, man. And the first game of this series really showcased that we can't hang with the big dogs. In my opinion, right now, this is not. Do you want to talk about who's a playoff team and who's not? That LA Dodgers team, as much crap as they get and the boos that Shohei got, it's a hell of a baseball team.
Which was ridiculous,
man.
But yes.
We're not, Jesse. We're not even going to get into that, man.
Right.
I'm not gonna player hate. The guy has, and he had another double against us. Could have had another one. Our defense is spectacular, though. At least we have that going for us there. We knew what we were in for against LA. The guys still didn't show up. It was tough to watch. There was very few good takeaways from this series, in my opinion. Just some fundamentals, even whether it be a defensive flip or a base running error, we still just can't seem to lock everything down at once. And not holding the lead is a problem, yes, but I feel like even if we kind of get the fundamentals, we need more. And right now we kind of lack fundamental ball at points.
Yeah, and so does that come down then to the coaching staff? Is that on John Schneider, Don Mattingly, and DeMarlo Hale and company to make sure your players have these fundamentals? Or is this on the players themselves to, if you can't get motivated for a big league game, then what are you even doing? Like, whose fault is this?
I think you cannot, Jesse, put the blame on a single person. Let's for a second talk about the players specifically. Yes, you can blame this on two different people right now. Let's talk about the three guys in the batting order with George Springer, Bo Bichette, and Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Those guys are not performing up to the level they should be. Yet, Jesse, they are batting 1, 2, and 3 in this Blue Jays batting order. That batting order being assembled by one, Mr. John Schneider. So you kind of have to share the blame there, right? He hasn't done much to shift it up, but at the same time, those guys who are supposed to be run producers, those guys who are supposed to be our big players, big name guys, you want to buy their jerseys, you want to get their autograph. Well, these guys aren't playing like all-star type players. On the Dodgers right now, that's the bottom of your lineup, it seems.
Honestly, for real. And I want to play a little game while we talk about this. And George Springer, Bo Bichette, and Vladimir Guerrero Jr. really have been struggling so far this season. I want to do a little fun thought experiment here with you, Riley. And hypothetical situation. Blue Jays are down by 1, runner second and third with 2 out. Who is the Blue Jay right now you would want to have at the plate? Because I don't think it's one of those first 3 guys. Who would it be?
I mean, Justin Turner has surprised the heck out of us, Jesse.
Right. And if it's not Justin Turner, who's next?
It's probably got to be Varsho. They're the only 2 guys on this team right now with an OPS over 700. And their OPSs are
outs, but yeah.
Their OPSs are 861 and 820 respectively. Now, I imagine, Jesse, it's the start of the year hot starts for both guys, and there's that's probably not going to stay the same. And from going down the list, I honestly wouldn't hate a run scoring situation for a guy like Davis Schneider.
So he's probably third, right?
Yeah, I would say Davis Schneider for sure.
Right. And then how many names basically do you have to go to before you get to Vlad, Bo, and George Springer, who you'd want to have hitting in that situation to win you a game right now?
Well, here's the next one too, man. And I really wasn't high on getting a guy like IKF to start. And really nothing he hasn't done a ton to prove that. The walks to strikeouts, the power numbers, like he's not a guy that's going to produce a ton of more offense than what he's already been doing. Go down the list, you could say, hey, against the right guy, I wouldn't mind having a Kevin Biggio at the plate.
Sure.
Danny Jansen for that matter, right? And then you can start getting into the other guys, right? Baseball's a very situational thing. Depend who's on the hill, the hand of the pitcher, this and that. But our top 3 guys, and some of them aren't even in the top 6, it seems, who I would want at the dish right now in a clutch situation.
Which is the major problem right here. Like, I'd rather have Ernie Clement over any 3 of those guys hitting in a spot right now. I'd rather have, I was going to say Nathan Lucas, but maybe not that far. I'd rather have those other guys coming up there. For what it's worth,
Clement more home runs than Bo Bichette at this point in the season too. Crazy, Jesse.
And in like half the at-bats too. It might not even be half, to be honest. Which, I don't know. Like, do you at this point think maybe, hey, we have to sit Bo Bichette for a few games, let Ernie Clement play just for the betterment of the team right now? Like, is that a move you're going to make?
Jesse, there is a ton of options. When they moved to 26 guys in the clubhouse, it really opened up some opportunities. We talked about this. I don't think we're utilizing our 26-man roster to the best that we possibly could.
We talked about that last episode, yes.
But I will say this. Like I've always been optimistic about Bo getting hits. He's a compiler, and I'm
Mhm.
still waiting for that bat to turn on. I
Mhm.
feel like
All right, Riley froze on us a little bit there, but I'm sure it was fire what you were going to come out with there. I wanted to bring out, while we're on the topic of those three hitters, I wanted to say, look, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. did do some things nice in this series. He did hit a baseball 117.6 miles per hour off the bat. The Blue Jays as a team as a whole have not been hitting the ball hard and in the air, which in that 2021 season, 2022 season, when they had one of the best offenses in baseball, they were doing that consistently. I think they're like 28th in baseball right now. And Vlad is actually still leading the team in that category. So I do think Vlad is the most likely out of the three to rebound and to come out on the other side of this and put together a good season. But you got to start seeing it sooner rather than later.
yeah, and honestly, we talked about it all offseason, what it's going to take, and we thought we were seeing good things in the spring, good things to start the year, but it's more or less the same, man. And I get it. He can hit a baseball extremely hard. He's extremely gifted in the hitting department in baseball, but it's almost like he is kind of, I don't know, pushing a little too much at the plate, maybe swinging too
Mhm.
hard. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe he needs to be more of
Obichet's doing
a
a lot
double.
of that at the plate right
Bob
now.
Boba is a nightmare right now, honestly. I'm really
Yikes.
glad that, hey, I'll say this. I'm really glad he improved his defense. I know that there's still some routine plays that he will botch, but his defense has gotten a lot better from his first full season in the big leagues, and that's fantastic. But Jesse, we're talking about guys that are going to play Major League Baseball probably for the next 10 years, regardless of their output in the stats department. I feel like if Bo struggles this year and struggles next year and goes to the free agency market, he's still probably going to get a payday, honestly,
He
because it
will.
is
He
Bo
will.
Bichette and he's had 190 whatever hits twice.
He'll be so
It's
young too.
and he'll be young because he
Mhm.
got brought up young and he's played at a high level. And I get that when guys play at a high level, not too far removed from a payday, you're probably going to be able to cash in. Vladdy, same deal. Someone's going to look at that 48 home runs and go, hey, let's try to
Yeah.
tap into that and get that back. But for right now, like none of that is relevant to this team because it just simply ain't happening. I was calling Bo Bichette 200 hits this year. I don't think it's happening, and that's frustrating, man. That was, I thought, for one thing for certain, Bo would be on top of that, and he is just not having a good start to this season. I imagine probably the worst stretch, Jesse, of his major league career. I don't have any statistics to back that up, but it sure as heck feels like it.
Well, I do, Riley. He is 1 for his last 18. He did have a stretch last season where he went for an 0 for 18 stretch as well, but I think that's when he was coming off his shoulder injury, or maybe it was just before then. So keep an eye on that going forward. But I want to move on to another topic. It's not fun to talk the Toronto Blue Jays offense being bad, but hey, it's the main storyline of the team right now, and until that improves, so be it. I want to talk a little bit about John Schneider and particularly the decision he made in Game 2 of this series when after Kevin Biggio worked a great plate appearance to get on base against Evan Phillips when the Blue Jays were down by 2, Isaiah Kiner-Falefa was due up, and they had Addison Barger on deck, and George Springer was taking a routine day off, and he brought in George Springer not to pinch hit for Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, but brought him in to hit what would have been an Addison Barger spot, and ultimately IKF flew out to center, and the game was over. George Springer never saw the field. How do you feel about this situation? Because I think John Schneider played himself a little too hard. He was preparing for a situation that ultimately never happened. How do you feel about this?
Are any MLB days off guaranteed to a player, or do you just kind of have to feel out the game and tell the guy at the start of that inning, like, hey, like, get your legs warm. You could be going into this game.
Yeah, I think that's a given. I think that's something like most players tell their players going
Yeah.
through that, hey, you're
You,
going to face this team. You're probably going to face this pitcher. Be ready. But yeah.
I think the situation probably called for George Springer as lucrative as he's been this year. I think it's a better choice than Isaiah Kiner-Falefa. I really do. He has not, as I said 10 minutes ago, he hasn't done much with the bat this year, Jesse, and he doesn't exactly scream, I'm going to come through in this clutch situation. Of course, Jesse, it could have happened, could have, should have, would have, fly out to center and the ball game. And it was a close game, too. And who knows? Maybe we had no guys on the bench or in the lineup that could have made that hit happen. But you have to at least try in that situation and use the bench.
Yeah, you're down by 2 runs. Who's more likely to hit a home run? Kevin Gausman, George Springer or Isaiah Kiner-Falefa? I think we'd both choose George Springer there, right? And then honestly, Addison Barger is probably quite likely to hit a home run there as well. And I don't understand why you're taking him out of the game. Dumb move by John Schneider. And honestly, it's not his first one he's used so far this season. That one kind of rubbed me the wrong way, even though you're right. The result at the end was probably going to be the same. I have some other notes that just caught my attention this series, maybe not as big as the ones we've had before, but some things I wanted to mention here. Shout out to Alejandro Kirk, who hit his first home run of the season today. It was a wall scraper. It barely got over. And it was right after the game before John Schneider was talking about how we need offense really badly. Danny Jansen provides more offense, who, by the way, also hit a home run in this series. Did Danny Jansen. And then all of a sudden Kirk's in the lineup hitting 8th today. And it's like, what the hell, man? But, kudos to him. He also did pick off a runner on second base. So I just want to throw some love to our catchers. Quick thought on those, Riley, before we move on.
Love Danny Jansen. Kirk really needed that game. I will say that. I still want Jansen. Kirk really needed that game.
Absolutely. It was good to see the home run. It was a barrel, which I think might have been Alejandro Kirk's first barrel of the year, which we're April 28th. That's tough.
Also good to see him rip a ball off of the wall in one of the corners for a nice long single.
Single, yes, which bothered me because the very next hitter hit into...
Oh, it bothered you. Yeah, and Biggio, a guy who hit into 0 double plays last year, Jesse, am I right? Hits
you are right,
a double play with Kirk. And I mean, I've said this, like, Biggio is a fit guy, but he does not have blazing top of the order speed. And Kirk might have been... He's not even close. He's not going to try and bust up. You can't bust up double plays anymore. You can at least slide. We were cooked. Good for Kirk, though. I mean, hey, extra base hits are great.
But if that hit is a double for Kirk, that same Biggio ground ball moves Kirk over to third. Then you have a runner on third with 1 out. Then a sac fly or another ground ball gets that run in. Instead, it was a 3-up, 3-down inning. Awful for the Blue Jays. They need to get better at that. But going on, which I want to talk a little bit about Addison Barger here, who has not yet got his first major league hit. He debuted in Kansas City. He got the start here in game 2, played in right field, moved over to third base at the end of game 1. He made a great catch at third base, snagged a line drive. That's why they called it the hot corner. And he made a throw in right field that was over 100 miles per hour. In fact, his throw from right field to third base, which actually, if you look at the replay review too, probably got Mookie Betts out, was the hardest throw a Blue Jays outfielders made since they've started keeping track of this stuff in 2015. That arm is real and legit. I want to see a little bit more of Addison Barger, especially because the bat doesn't look too far off.
Bat isn't too far off. He has hit the ball very hard. Still 0 for 11, 3 strikeouts, but there's a lot more to look at than just those numbers, because he could easily have 3 hits right now, and he hustles. He plays great defense. If this team decides to go a different route in the future and use some homegrown prospects, if we do end up at some point doing the R word, rebuild.
Ooh,
Barger
don't like that word.
Hey, I know. I that's why I kind of whispered it. Barger would be an excellent choice at third base.
And I think he should get an extended run there right now. And speaking of our prospects, Riley, Orelvis Martinez still crushing it. At what point do we just say, look, this Blue Jays team needs an offensive thump? We have a guy literally sitting there and waiting. I understand he's young. I understand there might be still some strikeout issues in his game, but why not just bring him up? And if he has a Jackson Holiday type 1 for 30, then send him right back down again. And if doing that ruins his development, then he was never ready in the first place. I don't know. Like, when do you think we're going to see Orelvis Martinez?
I would personally like to see him now. I mean, Daniel Vogelbach is not doing it for me. We could cut ties with him anytime. Unfortunately, he looks like he's involved a lot in the dugout, and I get that. I was that guy too. I didn't quite underperform and wasn't that underwhelming at any time, but he's quite underwhelming right now with very little versatility. And I think you got to give him his shot. You got to, and the way that this is going, you got to just start trying to throw it at the wall and making it stick. And at some point it will. And I think Orelvis Martinez, if we're going to look internally and go to our farm, I think, Barger, that's a good call. That's a good call to make up. I think that he will work out a very decent major league career at some point, whether he gets sent back down again, because that could very well happen too, Jesse.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a risk you're willing to take.
And I think it's about time we gave Aurelvis Martinez a shot, because it seems like pretty simple math, not even real math, just logic. Jesse, what are we missing right now? Offense. What is Aurelvis Martinez supplying in AAA? Offense. There you go. Problem.
Simple math equation makes a lot of sense, doesn't it?
Maybe solve the problem. I don't know, man. It's worth a shot, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, the Blue Jays are probably going to wait around to the end of May. I want to see him sooner. We don't need to be playing Isaiah kind of Fleffa like this. I'm sorry. Like, give him a run. Even Biggio can sit at the bench, come in late. Like, we have a spot for him. Put him up there and go with it. I think that's a good call. Okay, Riley, it's time to talk a little outfield defense, because this is the Blue Jays calling card. Really good. George Springer made a hell of a catch in Game 3 today to lead off the bottom of the ninth. Made a great dive there. Dalton Varsho actually made 2 real nice catches here as well. Dalton Varsho also quietly 0 for 11 this series, coming off how hot he was on the road trip and then his first game in Kansas City. Might be cooling off a little bit for Dalton Varsho, which I think we all kind of expected. And I want to talk about what he did in Game 1 here, or Game 2, the first at-bat of the game, when Mookie Betts hit that single to center and Dalton Varsho kind of dove and missed it, and it got past him and went for a triple. I wonder if Dalton Varsho is pressing a little bit because he knows the offense is struggling, that every run they can prevent matters so much more. Because I've never seen Dalton Varsho dive and miss a ball that much like he did in that series. Do you think there's anything to that, or just he thought he could catch the ball and maybe just misread it?
There's a lot of different ways you could go about that, Jesse. To start a baseball game, if you're an outfielder, I mean, in a situation like that, I think baseball kind of would lean towards keep the ball in front of you. Of course, if you can get to it, that's different. But he wasn't really close, to say the least. I mean, he was close, but he really wasn't that close to the baseball. Did it cost us a game? I certainly don't think so. But
it cost us a run for Kikuchi, and it cost him extra pitches. So there's that. Which ultimately, too, like, you have Mookie Betts on first. I mean, Ohtani's a great hitter behind him. He's a doubles machine. He's one of the best. But you take the chance he rolls over, hits a ground ball, and can go on. I don't know. I don't think there's a lot more to it than just that. But it's something that caught my eye, and maybe the Blue Jays are playing with a little bit of desperation.
I think that's extremely accurate, Jesse. I think we're a very desperate ball club right now, man. We'll try anything to stay in and win a ball game, and we've been unsuccessful thus far at the attempts as of today's game. Gausman held us in the game, and the little offense that we did compile. I mean, eight hits. That's good. I was talking to someone like, how many hits, should we? It's like, it's nice to see 10 hits into a game, 3 runs over 8 hits. I mean, that's great. If you can win a ball game doing that, then you probably got some very good pitching. It's exactly what we got from Kevin Gausman.
Yeah, so let's talk starting pitching. And the Blue Jays had a good start, a bad start, and an okay start in this series. We'll start with the good. Kevin Gausman, who went 7 innings pitched today, 5 hits, 1 earned run, no walks, 5 strikeouts. Really, really good. He used his fastball a lot more. What he talked about, we started to see those swings and misses come back on that splitter a little bit. It really does feel like Kevin Gausman is winding into form now against what was a good Los Angeles Dodgers lineup. So I'm very encouraged by what we saw from Kevin Gausman in this start. The meh was Yusei Kikuchi. 6 innings pitched, 9 hits, 4 earned runs, but 0 walks, but only 3 strikeouts. I did note, too, Yusei Kikuchi threw harder in this start than he ever did as a Toronto Blue Jay. I think maybe he was amped up to face fellow countryman Shohei Ohtani because he threw a 98-mile-per-hour fastball. And he struggled early, gave up a lot of hits. There were some hittable pitches, but then retired, I think, the last 11 in a row for Yusei Kikuchi did. So he did some very good things here. I am very excited about what the what the rest of this season lies for Yusei Kikuchi. And the last one, Chris Bassett. Look, we've seen this with Chris Bassett before. He's going to have 3 or 4 starts a season where he just gets shelled, and I'm just basically chalking it up as this was one of them. Mark it on the calendar. He'll have 2 or 3 more starts just like this later in the season. He's great 85% of the time. So be it. Do you have a takeaway on our starting pitchers in this series, Riley?
I really don't want to get into Chris Bassett's start at all, because I think that's exactly it. We've determined this early on the show. When Bassett came to Toronto, we determined exactly that. We kind of looked under the hood and said, listen, this is going to happen 4 times a season, and you just kind of have to take it. If we score the runs, great. If not, we're out of the ball game. whatever. And then you end up having a position player pitch. Never fun when that happens, Jesse.
Which did happen again in this series, might I add.
That's exactly what I'm saying, man.
Mhm.
In the Bassett game. Look, let's get into Kikuchi's. Gosman, I won't spend much time on because I think Gosman was great, and I think we're going to see this trend continue. But Yusei Kikuchi is a completely different pitcher, and I
Looks
don't
real good.
I don't really give a crap that he only struck out 3 hitters. I still think that the biggest takeaway this year is his control, and he was getting bad calls on him as well, Jesse. I don't know if you've
Yes, he
watched
got
it.
squeezed early.
He
Very
got
early in this game.
squeezed early and still didn't give up those walks. He is, as far as competitors go, I mean, Yusei Kikuchi is in these ball games. Jesse, he threw hard. Yes, it could be because it was the Dodgers. He chip on his shoulder. Who knows? But Yusei Kikuchi came to play in his start versus Los Angeles, and he brought it, man. He absolutely brought it. And you can say, yeah, it was an okay start for Yusei Kikuchi, but Jesse, honestly, man, I if you get this more often than not, this exact type of start where when he goes 6 innings, I mean 4 earned runs, sure, but I thought it was a fantastic outing for Kikuchi just because of how far he has come just in the short time he's been with the Jays.
Yeah, I'm leaving this Yusei Kikuchi start very encouraged. We were getting excited when he throws 95. Now, if Yusei Kikuchi's got 98 in the bag to go along with this curveball that's shown a lot of improvement, I'm buzzing. I'm wearing my Kikuchi jersey right now. I'm actively very excited about what we could get coming down the stretch from Yusei Kikuchi for the rest of the season and hopefully longer. We'll talk about that later in the offseason. To the bullpen, Riley, a couple more bullpen notes that we got in this one than we did in the last one. First things first, do we have a thought on the Jordan Romano thing where he came out in game 2 because he hadn't pitched in a while, where the Blue Jays were losing 4-1, and the Rogers Center still did the theatrical lights, the Jordan Romano entrance that we saw. Are you a fan of this when the Blue Jays were losing by 3 runs? What are your thoughts?
No chance. That was ridiculous. Was, as someone who knows baseball circumstances, that is one of the most cringy things that you could possibly do at the time. Jesse, do you know I know what you have on your notes next, probably. I don't actually, but I'm going to take a guess. Do you know what's worse, Jesse?
Tell me.
Than having that graphic is being taken out of that ball game afterwards.
Yeah.
I
didn't have that on here, but go on. Yeah.
That is terrible, man. It's a non-save situation. You coming to face the Dodgers in the 9th inning? Great. You're not on the hook for a save. You're getting some work in. He hadn't pitched in 5 days at that point, I believe. Monday to Saturday. Do the math. He was getting some work in. It's late in the game. I'm an old school guy this way too. In a situation like that, leave him in the game. I think he could have got the job done. Closers, he's a primary closer. He's not a role pitcher. He hated that. And a lot of closers in Major League Baseball, that's going to drive them insane. He didn't finish the inning and he had this big light orchestra around him. Dude, that was tough to watch, man. That was really
that's
tough
another situation where John Schneider's just over managing things because I think he pulled him in case he had to use him in the finale today. But again, he's preparing for a situation that never happened. And it's just, I think that's so tough. It's not a good look for Romano or for John Schneider because now Romano's pissed at his manager, right? And that's also something you don't want to see because once your manager loses your team, it's over. But that's maybe a conversation for another day. But another bullpen notes, Riley. Actually, one more thing on Romano. I'm still quite not there, not comfortable when he's on the mound yet. We haven't seen that dominant Jordan Romano outing where he's come in, he's punched out 3 guys, or he's got a ton of weak contact. His K/9's 5 right now, and that's weak. I am concerned a little bit about Jordan Romano, and now I know it's early and his stuff still looks good under the hood, but it's I'm not confident yet he's still going to be this full-on lights-out closer that we've seen in years past.
The only pitcher this year where I can actually kick my feet back and put my arms up and relax and I'm not sitting on the edge of my seat is Jimmy Garcia. It's the
Yeah,
only
agreed.
pitcher I can relax when he's on the bump. Every other reliever that walks out of that bullpen, I kind of lean over and kind of I'm like, oh, and look at the score, look at the situation, who's on base, how many outs, and kind of play it in my head. Garcia comes out and I'm like, fantastic. Glad to see you out there, man. Absolutely dealing this year. Everyone else, though, yeah, I'm a little bit nerved when Romano gets out there because it's kind of what are we going to see in this outing? No one right now is really making me feel comfortable as a fan, as a viewer, because it is very tough to watch the majority of these innings.
Then I'm sure you didn't love today when Jimmy Garcia did give up a double, but had 2 outs with the bases loaded after an intentional walk. And they bring in Tim Meza to face Max Muncy, who hit a baseball probably 398 feet. But Dalton Varsho caught it at the wall. And boy, you could almost feel the gasp of air or butt cheeks clenched all across Rogers Center when Max Muncy hit that ball in the air, because I think we all thought that it was going out of there. But ultimately, didn't happen. The Blue Jays were able to escape that. But not a comfortable feeling watching Tim Meza pitch there in that 9th inning.
It has not been any comfortable innings with Tim Meza. He's unfortunately really down on my list right now for relief pitchers. I don't know what's wrong with him. It's tough though. I love Tim Meza. Fantastic guy. Been in the organization a long time, and you really hope that those guys do well. I really think in really since 2019, this has got to be the worst stretch, the worst start that he's ever had, because his ERA, his basically his walks, every stat is inflated right now comparative to how the rest of his career lines looks. Because if you look at his career, Tim Meza is sneakily having a very good career year to year if you look at his numbers.
Reliever stats, though, can fluctuate so much just based on one bad outing early in the year, which Tim Meza did definitely have. Either way, well, Riley, Dodgers are past us. We will not see them again for the rest of the season. We will return a foe we just saw recently, this time in our barn, as the Blue Jays welcome in the Kansas City Royals for a 3-game series, a team that just took 3 out of 4. I want to say more like 2.5 out of 4 against us, as the one game was shortened due to rain, but we don't have to worry about a rain out here. We're going to see Yariel Rodriguez. We're going to see Jose Barrios, and we're going to see Chris Bassett on the hill for our Toronto Blue Jays. How is this series going to go? Is this the series the Blue Jays finally score 6 runs? Is this the series the Blue Jays finally move past 500? How's it going to go?
Yeah, this is time for our redemption. We got spanked on their turf, and I think it's time that we repay the favor. I think we take 2 out of 3, and I think there's a game that we do score 6 runs. I don't think we score double digits. I think a 6-7 run game is due, Jesse. I think that we deserve that.
Okay, and is it going to be Bo Bichette and Vladimir Guerrero leading the charge, or is it going to be the other guys?
Watch this. Watch Justin Turner have a big game.
Oh, I love that.
Like 4 RBIs on 2 hits. Like, just because clutch. Like, watch this. What we said in this episode. Like, he is the number 1 guy. If there are runners on base in that kind of situation, he'll cash him in. And it could be with 2 outs. Maybe Vladdy drew a walk, but it's not like Springer and Bo are on base. Maybe the bottom of the order guys got on base, and then we got 2 outs with 2 runners in scoring position with those guys. Who knows? Baseball is crazy. The scenarios are endless, but I can tell you this. We're due for an offensive explosion. It is really bound to happen with the guys that we have. Something's going to click. I think it's going to be this series, because I don't think the Royals, I think the series we played against them at Kauffman doesn't reflect kind of the level. I think we're still above a team like the Kansas City Royals as far as talent goes, and I think it'll show up in this series.
Okay, Bo Bichette, by the way, I don't want to guarantee it, but I'm almost going to guarantee it. He's hitting a home run this series. I've been placing that wager on him since the Padres series. It is happening. This series, it's going to be happening. And with that being said, I will be at the Rogers Center tomorrow. It's that Danny Jansen jersey and jersey and glasses giveaway day. I will be there. I will likely be around the Catch Bar anytime between 6 and 7 p.m. with some buddies. If you want to come over, come out, say hello, have a drink with me. Like, let's go. We're going to be there. We're going to be living up at the Rogers Center. We're going to be having a lot of fun. So if you see me, come say hello. I'll have a drink with you. We'll chat some baseball and hopefully cheer on that Bo Bichette home run together. Riley, anything else to add? tough weekend for the Blue Jays. Upcoming series against the Royals. Anything else you want to throw in here before we get out of here?
Yep, we got it. We got it handed to us. The NL All-Stars came to the Rogers Center, and they beat us 12 runs. Doesn't look good. We're gonna bounce back from that. But Jesse, I hope that we can come back here on Wednesday or Thursday, depending on our schedules, and report 4 RBIs this guy, 5 RBIs this guy, on base percentage 650 for this guy in this series. None of this. Oh, well, we scored 4 runs in 3 games, because that's no good.
I agree. And hopefully we have better things to report next series. Baseball's weird. We have highs. We have lows. This is probably just in the middle of one of those lows right now. But for Riley McConnell, I'm Jesse Burrell. Thank you, everybody, for listening to this episode. Remember, you can follow us on all social medias, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. And please make sure you like and subscribe to our video on YouTube. You can, anywhere you can find your podcast, you can find Buds and Blue Jays. Tell a friend, 5-star review, leave a comment. It really is the best way to help the show grow. Until next time, we'll see you later in this week to recap the series against the Royals. We'll see you then.
Thanks, guys.